Hello. Today the US Secretary of the Air Force said he could not believe China's military would develop faster than the US officers and soldiers were stunned seeing China's aircraft carrier Catapult launching the J-15. The J-35 fighter jet has become the world's #1. China's military in September had the Catapult launch demonstration of the Fujian aircraft carrier. On September 22nd, the Chinese Navy announced that the J-15T, J-35, and KJ-600 carrier-based aircraft. The aircraft carrier has completed its first catapult takeoff and landing training on the aircraft carrier Fujian, marking that the Fujian has the ability to launch and recover a variety of different types of carrier-based aircraft with electromagnetic catapults. This is another major breakthrough in the development of our aircraft carriers, officially surpassing the United States. Some people believe that American aircraft carriers are technologically advanced. Their nuclear propulsion systems and electromagnetic catapult launch capabilities were originally the best in the world. Previous aircraft carriers used steam catapult systems. The world's first aircraft carrier to have an electromagnetic catapult system is the United States' Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System. The lead ship of the United States' latest Ford-class aircraft carrier, the Ford, entered service in July 2017, becoming the world's first aircraft carrier equipped with an electromagnetic catapult system. However, the outside world soon discovered that the Ford aircraft carrier could not carry the latest fighter jet, the Navy's Stealth Joint Strike Fighter F-35C, which the United States has spent a lot of effort to develop specifically for aircraft carriers. Later, the US Government Accountability Office determined that the Ford's electromagnetic catapult system could not meet the takeoff requirements of the F-35C fighter. Therefore, the Ford aircraft carrier may not be able to deploy the F-35C before 2027. The US Congress demanded that if this problem was not resolved, it would ban the Navy from accepting construction workers for the Ford-class aircraft carriers. The US military thus made a huge joke. The newly built Ford-class aircraft carrier was actually nuclear-powered, but it could not launch the latest F-35C fighter jets. Even the second Ford-class aircraft carrier, the USS Kennedy, had the same problem. It could only carry the old F/A-18EF Supermarine fighter as its main fighter, resulting in a mismatch between the aircraft carrier and the aircraft it carried. This extremely basic mistake mainly caused several problems. First, the design of the Ford-class aircraft carrier was finalized first, and the F-35 fighter project was finalized later. The research plans of the two combat platforms were synchronized, but the US military had no one to coordinate the two construction plans, resulting in separate and incompatible developments. Second, the electromagnetic catapult system on the already completed Ford-class aircraft carrier could not meet the takeoff requirements of the heavy F-35C fighter, requiring major adjustments. On the other hand, the traditional steam catapult system of the 50-year-old Nimitz aircraft carrier could meet the takeoff requirements of the F-35C fighter. Third, the deflector plate on the already completed Ford-class aircraft carrier could not withstand the F-35C. The heat generated by the F-35C fighter's powerful engine must also be further enhanced. Fourth, there are compatibility issues between the completed Ford aircraft carrier and the F-3 fighter. Therefore, the US Navy can only deploy the Navy's latest fighters using older aircraft carriers. What the US could not do, China has now achieved. Moreover, China's aircraft carriers are not nuclear-powered, but traditional diesel-powered. However, this has achieved a technological breakthrough. Traditionally powered aircraft carriers can be equipped with the most advanced battery catapult system instead of the traditional steam catapult system. Fujian Coast Catalina CIM. This is the first time since the F-35C was launched by an electromagnetic catapult system. However, the F-35C has been delayed due to the complex project on the other side. This world first has been released. It was originally predicted that it might take several years for the F-35C fighter to be able to launch an electromagnetic catapult. The news released by the Chinese Navy's commercial department did not specify the time of the Fujian catapult training, but stated that before the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression, the three types of carrier-based aircraft, the Shu-15T, Shu-35, and KJ-600, had completed their first catapult launch and takeoff from the Fujian ship, along with the ship training. This is obviously a gift for the military parade, probably because the People's Liberation Army. The release of the Fujian's triple catapult launch was so shocking that even the US Embassy in China made a move, posting a mysterious Weibo message. At 5:55 p.m. on September 22nd, the US Embassy in China posted a strange Weibo message, which only contained the word repost and nothing else. Domestic media noticed that the time the US Embassy in China posted on Weibo coincided with the time the Hong Kong military released news about the Fujian. The three launches were so close in time that the US Embassy in China only edited the Weibo post half a day later on the morning of September 23rd to add content about the daily training of the US Marine Corps. The American media was also shocked by the Fujian land catapult launch. The well-known American military website Warzone published an article on September 12th acknowledging that China's electromagnetic catapult launch of the Z-35 was indeed earlier than the US F-35 to win this world first. The article described the leap in China's nuclear weapons combat capability as shocking. The Warzone article even bluntly stated that the sudden exposure of the Fujian ship's three-shot catapult launch footage was, to some extent, just one of the many shocking discoveries about China's nuclear air force combination this year. The US Naval Institute News Network also immediately focused on their report and slowed down the printing of the PLA's development dynamics. Trucker website co-founder Bennis said these tests are a significant milestone for China's aircraft carrier program. While they likely were completed earlier this year, the fact that they were conducted on the Fujian coast and a video released during the 9th maritime incident suggests the Fujian coast is likely ready for recommissioning in the near future. The lawyer emphasized that China has demonstrated its power projection potential with its new aircraft carriers and southern-based aviation capabilities. He said that once combat capability is achieved, the Chinese Navy will be able to deploy fifth-generation stealth southern-based aircraft in the first island chain and the Western Pacific, supported by fixed-wing southern-based early warning and command aircraft. A summary can be made. First, there's no outward appearance of weakness. Although the program claims to be a fleet of aircraft carriers, nearly half of them require ongoing maintenance. Furthermore, the electronic catapult systems of the two most advanced Ford-class nuclear-powered aircraft carriers can't even launch the latest Ford-class aircraft. The 35C fighter jet can be said to be flawed. Secondly, the US military equipment is not only too expensive and has low productivity, but the entire defense system also lacks coordination, which is why such a joke has occurred. Thirdly, China has not yet completed a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, but accidentally took the world's first place. This is what shocked the United States. In addition, the United States has begun to admit that its military development lags behind China. At the American Air Transport Association's online conference held on September 22nd, U.S. Air Force Secretary Troy Mink delivered his first major speech since taking office. He was surprised by the deterioration of the U.S. Air Force's combat readiness due to years of underinvestment and China's continued rapid innovation. In his speech, he mentioned that a few years ago he worked in the intelligence community. He once participated in a study on the pace of China's military modernization. When the data was first presented to him, he thought it was a mistake. He asked why China could develop so much faster than the United States. He said he could spend hours explaining why he believed China's pace was unsustainable and why he thought that China and the United States would slow down over time. However, this did not happen. This incident made him realize that the only way for the United States to maintain its advantage is to innovate, not to innovate faster than its opponents. Mink compared today's geopolitical threats to the impact of the Soviet Union's launch of the Sputnik satellite in 1957, which beat the United States to the launch. He warned that if innovation in aerospace programs is not accelerated, the United States will face difficulties. The new America will lag behind its adversaries, especially China. He said that in the face of China's growing investment in air-to-air fighters, long-range laser bombers, nuclear systems, and space capabilities, the United States needs a national commitment to maintain its advantage. He said that the United States has maintained space power since the moon landing, but this leading position is under threat. Their task is to ensure that this position is not lost. Mink was surprised by the poor state of American combat readiness. Okay, he knew there were challenges in combat readiness, but he did not realize the severity of the problem. He mentioned a recent visit to Nanli Air Force Base, where F-22 fighter jets are stationed. He said that when you see many aircraft on the tarmac that are unable to operate due to missing parts, even when no one cares, this is a problem we must address. He believes a series of measures are needed, such as devoting more resources to combat readiness, such as weapon system maintenance. These earmarked funds have often been diverted to other uses. Wu Enke also wants to hold weapons contractors accountable for combat readiness. He says it's unacceptable to buy a part marked for 400 hours of use, only to find it breaks down after only 100. He calls on the government and manufacturers to collaborate on investments to improve the maintainability and reliability of weapon systems and other components. The U.S. Air Force Secretary's description reveals the depth of problems facing U.S. military equipment. But are these problems so easily solved? Is it really that easy for the United States to innovate? The outrageous situations he described remind me of the late Qing dynasty. Back then, the Qing court also did everything it could to purchase advanced weaponry and train new troops, but the money always seemed to disappear without a trace. Behind it all was a systemic problem. The jokes and inefficiency seen in the US military are the same.
Both of these significant challenges